Our listeners can now write in to the A Talk of the Clones podcast. You can reach us at atalkoftheclones@gmail.com with any fan mail, hate mail, or questions you may have. We love interacting with the Star Wars community, and we would be absolutely thrilled to hear from you. Again, that is atalkoftheclones@gmail.com. You write it just like you hear it, folks. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of A Talk of the Clones. I am one of your hosts, Angel Galuzzi.
This is Yuli.
This is Jaime.
And together we are Ultron. But
we need to think of a
Voltron,
throuple name.
not Ultron. Ah, Jesus. A throuple name? Let's see. Okay, I got A, and we got two J's. That's not going to work.
There's a band called AJJ.
And Jaju. Jajuan?
We'll think about it. And next episode we'll come back.
We are the Jaj.
Right? It'll be in the work. Well, anyway, back to what I was saying. Welcome to another episode of A Talk of the Clones, where we're going to redirect our focus on the Bad Batch Season 8. A wonderful episode. This episode was phenomenal, guys. Obviously, I say it every week, except for maybe like 1 or 2 weeks, but I always talk about the visuals, and the visuals of this episode were spectacular. But this episode is called Reunion, and ladies and gentlemen, we get ourselves quite the little family reunion in this episode. I don't know about you guys, I thought this was one of the heavy hitters, probably the heaviest of the hitters since the season opener, at least in my book.
This is my favorite Star Wars, period. I liked it better than thus far, because we still got like the second half of the season.
Right.
But I like this better than any single episode of the Clone Wars. I like this better than any movie. This is my Star Wars now.
It certainly went out with a bang.
Explosion. Oh,
Explosion.
well, amongst other things.
Amongst other things, indeed. So, guys, we picked up right where we obviously, I think last time Julie made a very out there. She threw a Hail Mary on first down as to who was going to show up. What was it? The guild, the Scrapper Guild?
Yeah, Scrapper Guild.
Spotted our boys out there. You threw a little bit of a Hail Mary as to who was going to pop up. So no, it wasn't the dance ensemble of Vader, Palpatine, and the Second Sisters. So you were wrong about that. You were wrong about it. Second Sister wasn't out there. Neither was Vader or Palpatine. I don't know if you made that call or if that's a fan fiction I'm writing. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, guys.
But let's move sequentially through the episode. So first of all, that opening kind of like sequence of the episode where Omega was trying to get, or Wrecker was trying to get Omega to defuse a tripwire, and he tricked her. I loved it for a number of reasons. One, as somebody who's read a lot of the EU and the Republic Commando series, the Bad Batch are commandos, and the commandos were trained personally by Mandalorians, one of 100 Mandalorians. And so it's kind of like this is the kind of training that Wrecker himself probably received when the Mandalorians were training him. So it's kind of like this little insight into what growing up must have been like to them. And two, it's kind of like it's a cute thing to do with the kid. I don't know if your parents ever did these kind of like mean pranks.
Adorable.
Right.
They made me defuse actual bombs, which I wasn't too happy about, but I turned out okay.
If I was Wrecker, I'd go back and get some more proton torpedoes.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, this is the beginning, so
Okay.
they haven't gone for
That man really had a thing for him.
Yeah.
That got real freaky. He was like making out with that thing. I'm like, what are you even gonna do with that? You're not a ship, dude. What are you just gonna chuck it at someone? What's the difference between that and a trash?
Dude, out of all the people you could chuck a like proton torpedo at, you chuck it at the guy who has a fucking flamethrower, as if like, wouldn't that like be a fire hazard or explosion hazard? You throw a bomb at somebody.
He's not a thinker. His name isn't Thinker, okay? That's not what they named him. They named him, oh yeah! That's his inner dialogue whenever he's like, his inner monologue, sorry. Whenever he's in the middle of battle, he's like, just thinking, like, it's pretty much like, you ever see that movie, Hardcore Henry?
Yes.
That it's just like nonstop, like action in first person? That's pretty much Wrecker. That's essentially Wrecker without the motion sickness. Well, maybe he does get motion sickness on account of his 43,000 concussions. But aside from that, let's reel it back to the beginning of the episodes, following it sequentially, as you were.
Echo shooting down the last member of the Scrapper Guild that was watching them was really cool. Like him sitting on top of one of the beams and like the camera's kind of spinning. I'm like, man, this is like a Renaissance painting right now. I love this episode so much. I really can't say that enough. And then, then they moved on to the possibility of becoming, I guess, arms dealers, and then Echo's completely like, no, this isn't a good idea. What kind of future is Hunter trying to figure out for them? Because he keeps saying, he told Rex that, and he tells Echo in the episode as well that like this isn't their path anymore, even though Echo's like, we're soldiers, and Rex was like, defending the Republic my entire life. Like, where the hell is this heading? He doesn't want to play like Farmer in the Prairie or whatever it is, because if not, they would have gone with Cut to the edges of the Outer Rim. But instead, we kind of got
there's only like, right. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's gonna like Hunter. I mean, this is my Hunter theory. I think he's just trying to make his way to Shadow Moses Island so he can hunt down the Metal Gears, and that's the only future he sees for himself. But aside from that, if they don't go with that storyline, I don't know what else they're gonna do with Hunter, unless it becomes a mass murdering Rambo parody. But I don't see our boy Hunter becoming that guy.
It's that moral compass.
Right now, they're simple men carving their way through the universe.
As their genetic donor before him.
Yeah, their namesake, right? It's kind of what they're all doing now. They have no choice, and well, they come from a time where they didn't have a lot of choice, right? So, I think because Clone Wars and now the Bad Batch, it focuses more so on the war aspect of Star Wars, more so than the mainline movies, because the mainline movies shares the stage more so with the mysticism of the Force than it does anything else. But these guys are clone troopers and they're soldiers. Not only are they soldiers, but they are like soldiers to the nth degree, where they were clones that were like literally genetically programmed to be subservient and follow orders to a T. Right? And this is where I'm gonna like just reel it back a little bit and look at Star Wars as a bigger picture, as I normally wax philosophical. Basically, one aspect of Star Wars that we see in the original trilogy, we kind of lost sight of that a little bit in the prequel trilogy, because that one felt a little bit on rails, and I'll get to that in a second. And it kind of made a bit of a return to form for that in the sequel trilogy in this one aspect, and that is the concept of choice, right? The reason why we're engaged with Luke Skywalker and a lot of these characters in Star Wars is because they're making crucial choices, right? They're making these decisions to what to do with their lives. The characters have a lot of agency in the original trilogy. Luke Skywalker chooses to become a Jedi. He chooses to go down that path. He chooses to fight for the rebellion, and in 5 he chooses to not join his father, right? In 4, Han Solo chooses to fight for the rebellion, right? So choice and agency over that aspect of yourself is a huge thing in Star Wars, right? In 6, obviously Vader chooses his son. He chooses to betray the Emperor and to forfeit the dark side, right? It's all about these characters making choices. Obviously there's more choices that go on in the sequel trilogy, and the prequel trilogy, it felt more on rails because it was like kind of working towards like these predetermined story beats. But I think that Clone Wars is very interesting in that your focal characters, at least now, you're not really focusing on the Jedi. I mean, people love Clone Wars, but like, come on, bro. We were there for some Obi-Wan action. We were there for the Anakin, the Ahsoka eventually when people stopped, hating her. That's kind of what we were there for. We wanted to see the Jedi. Revisionist history. Come on, dog. People hated Ahsoka. Plo's bros. You know what I'm saying? Look at that. There you go, girl. All right. Plo's bros. Plo, plow, plu, plow, plo.
Yeah, it's I guess for anybody who doesn't realize it, it's Plo Koon.
That's a Jedi that's almost as great as you, Jamie.
The Wolfpack had designs on the side of their gunship, which was the like Plo Koon's little face, and then two clone troopers, and then Arubesh pretty much says "Plo's bros," and it's adorable. At least I think
Those
it's
bros.
adorable.
It is adorable, man. You gotta love it.
He's maybe like the OG dad, I think, in the Clone Wars. But anyways,
For sure, dude. But in the first season, you kind of see him, he establishes that aspect, right? Where the Jedi don't see the clones as just these mindless drones, right? They see the humanity in them, even though they're genetic copies of each other that have been bred for a specific goal. They don't see them as these like single-minded entities. And that's a theme that's carried out throughout Clone Wars. Not very heavy-handedly, because it is a television series that is aimed more towards a younger audience. But it's still there. The themes are still there and they're still played with. And I think with Bad Batch, we're getting that. I've talked about this before, you know, these characters having agency and how important agency plays into how they develop. We're seeing the struggle of Crosshairs with he has no agency right now. He's still under the control of the inhibitor chip. And we're seeing the Bad Batch, even though they're lost, so to speak, they're making their way through the universe. They're doing so of their own choice, right? And slowly but surely, we've been seeing this the Bad Batch crew gain more and more agency. The last episode, episode 7, I would say was probably the one where they've officially gained the more significant amount of agency, where they got rid of their inhibitor chips. So that's not even a factor for them now moving forward. Now they can make their own decisions fully.
even though they were convinced that that it mattered.
Sure, but it's just one of those things. It's not a factor in them anymore, right? The inhibitor chips aren't gonna, it's not this like ticking time bomb in their heads anymore. They are fully 100% free, just like Rex is, right? Sure, they got the Empire on their tails and they're wanted men, right? But they're not like beholden to something other than, just survival. And that's what anybody else is beholden to, really, at the end of the day. So I think that's what they're working towards now in the Bad Batch. We're seeing a lot of interesting themes come into play in terms of agency for these characters, where it goes from here, and how they can more thoroughly develop their own personalities and develop as individuals. So as far as carving their place in the universe and what Hunter's vision for the group, I think that Hunter definitely doesn't want the group to settle into a lifestyle that would make them lean towards doing more detestable things rather than the alternative. Because when they were fighting for the Republic, there was a general sense that what they were doing was for freedom and for democracy and all that stuff, sure. But as soldiers, how much did they really engage with that, right? They were just following orders 100%. They're genetically bred for that. So I think it really is a good piece of character work to see these guys really have to find their identities. And I think Hunter's constantly no, we can't do that. No, we're not this. And them constantly having all this back and forth of what they're going to eventually do down the road, I think a crucial part for their characters to develop. It may feel a little fillery at times, but that's kind of what's at play here. They're just showing you how these characters are going through the motions of discovering their identities as independent humans.
I am starting to wonder whether...
Because they really haven't been.
Yeah, but I'm starting to wonder whether or not they're going to end up splitting up in the end. I have a feeling that Echo might go his own way, or really go with Rex, because he keeps insisting, we're soldiers, completely against it, while Echo's like, I just want to go and be a dad. Or Hunter is like, I want to go and be a dad. Forget the rest.
Wrecker's going to die in a fiery explosion.
He's going to collect a bunch of explosives and then just set them all off. He's going to martyr himself.
Yeah, and that's going to be the perfect setup for the Echo solo show. Because Echo's going to see that firsthand. He's like, oh my God, I've never seen someone die so gruesomely.
Oh, wait, that was me when I died in an explosion. Oh, that would... and it really just...
It's going to trigger all those horrible memories. Yep, Fortunate Son is going to start playing in the background. You're going to hear helicopters. It's going to be the whole 9 yards. The whole 9 yards. So the story obviously continues from there. We get that little training sequence at the beginning of the episode, and we get them kind of deciding, are they going to become full-time scrappers? You know what I mean? Where's it going to go from there? So you would like to continue down the path, you go right ahead.
I really like seeing them inside the ship because, for the most part, what have we seen inside the Venator? We've seen like the med bay, we've seen the command deck, we've seen the ship deck, I guess, where all the ships come in through that like force field thing, and that's like in most of the Star Wars films. I think in episode 8 or 9, we saw a little bit of the ship with Rose's character kind of like walking after Finn, and Finn was gonna get on the escape pod and just like peace out, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
So we saw a little bit of that. For the most part, like we didn't see the artillery deck before, and we didn't see where they keep all the missiles and stuff. You know, I enjoyed that very much.
Oh yeah, I'm always down for some world building with these giant ships. It's awesome, dude. It's always a great time. I don't know. I'm really a nerd for that stuff. One of my favorite things in like the original Battlefront 2 was just landing on the ships inside.
Oh god, yeah.
There wasn't much to explore, but I loved it. That was the best, man. You always wanted to land in there, you know? That's like one thing that if they ever brought it back to a Star Wars game in the future, oh, take all my money, all of it. I'll buy 4 copies if I need to. I don't care. I love it. I'm a big dork for that
So
stuff.
speaking of reunion,
Big dork for it.
the reunion we've been waiting several episodes for has finally occurred. We finally got Crosshair. What the fuck has he been doing this entire time? Him and his little cronies.
They've been killing
He's
civilians.
probably just been like angry.
Yeah.
Yeah, killing civilians. War crimes, you know, the usual. Just killing innocent children and grumbling, as the Empire would love to, you know, promote. That's what they do. So yeah, that's definitely, I mean, we got that interaction. We're back on Kamino, which again, I'm a broken record, but that one shot with like the lighting in the background and they got their black armor, it was so sick, dude.
Yeah.
It really is such a cinematic series. They've really nailed it. Because they gotta look cool, man. They gotta look cool as hell. Oh, speaking of drip, this is probably the episode where everyone wore their helmets for the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
It wasn't like, take our helmets off. It was like helmets on the whole way through for the most part.
I normally watch the episodes with closed captioning, but this one I didn't. And because they had their helmets on, there was a couple of times where I was like, okay, wait, was that Hunter? Was that Tech? Was that, or not Tech, Echo? Like, there's a couple of times where I wasn't sure who was, because there was a lot of action in this. There's a lot of back and forth, and for me, not knowing the characters, like
Other than like Omega, the rest of the voices are one dude.
yeah.
So
So they all sound the same. They all kind of look the same when their helmets are on, except for Tech, obviously. And Wrecker has a pretty distinct look because he's so fucking big. But like the rest of them, like there was a couple times where I was like, I had to rewind and double check, but that's a good reason not to wear helmets a lot.
I know. It's just one of those things where it's just like, you know, it doesn't make too much sense for them to have their helmets off all the time. But it's undeniable. They're way more identifiable without the helmets on.
it's the hair,
But this is definitely
the blind eye,
Well, Hunter doesn't have a receding hairline. That guy's got
and the
it.
half droid.
That guy's in a L'Oreal commercial as soon as the season's up. That guy's gonna get a L'Oreal promo
Do you
tour.
think Tech ever gets resentful that Hunter got all the hair? Because he's got that wicked receding hairline.
I don't think he thinks much about that kind of stuff. I think he's just like really worried about what's going on in his little Palm Pilot.
That's clever boy. I like that.
Oh, gee. He's one of the workaholics. He's on his Palm Pilot all day. Oh, that's true though. I don't see him getting too concerned with the aesthetics.
Yeah, I guess if he wanted hair, he would have figured it out by now.
Remember the part in the episode where Omega is talking to him about like what the war is like? Was that this episode?
Yeah, it was this episode.
So she's like, so what was the war like? And he was like, it was.
A primary mission objective.
And then she's like, yeah, but what was it
Comprised of-
like? And he's like, I just told you exactly what it was like. I don't understand what you're asking. So yeah, he's not worried about his hairline. He should be, but
He's not. He's more concerned with the Palm Pilot, like you said, 100%. I think that's a good catch there, Jamie. He definitely did seem very. He's super, super focused on like the logic, the stats, basic numbers of everything, and just taking everything from a very detached, almost emotionless perspective. Usually, you characterize your villains in that way in other series. So it's kind of not interesting to have the good guy. It's almost like Data from Star Trek in a sense. He's kind of like that a little bit, where he's just like this, like, oh, he's the robot that just gives out numbers and probability and whatnot without being a sassy, whiny robot like 3PO. He's basically 3PO without the cons of being 3PO. You know what I mean? That's kind of what he's also like good at fighting, I suppose. He can actually fire a gun. That's true. I mean, well, C-3PO was a bit of a warlord in episode 2, but aside from that, not exactly quite the fighter. He's more of a diva. But yeah, Tech is definitely, he's in that vein of characters, I would say. And it was interesting to me, that scene specifically, because it's like this thing that I can't get out of my head whenever I'm looking at these characters, what their experiences in the war and what their identities as soldiers play into with their identities now as civilians. Because that's always an interesting thing. Veterans definitely have varying degrees of difficulty reintegrating into society. Because if you serve in the military, that's not something that's easy to come back from, especially if you see combat, right? Obviously, this is a kids show, and I don't think it's going to really dive into the PTSD or anything like that. But it's one thing to consider. Like, yeah, their entire lives was just nothing but this war. That's what they were born for. That's all they were for. So now figuring stuff out for themselves is something that was never in the cards. It's not something that they would have ever expected, specifically because, the emperor, the now emperor, was always planning to use them as part of an empire. So even if they, once the separatist threat was over, he was just going to use them to subjugate people. So they were never, like, them having a life without guns in their hands was never in the cards as far as like what their ultimate purpose was for, right? So these guys are total outliers, not just, because they're the Bad Batch, but, they're not the only clones that Order 66 didn't work on, and that they escaped that as well. But that's one thing that I definitely see them moving forward with even more so. Really giving these guys different kind of identity as to what they're going to be going with. And now, they get a reunion with one of their boys was one of the outliers, but is probably the most controlled out of all of them. Because they really juiced up that inhibitor chip in his head.
Cross Eyes.
Oh, Crosshair. Okay.
Yeah, because they...
Okay, I thought we were like referencing Rex again. I was like...
No, Cross Boss, Cross Face, that guy, Face Off, that guy.
So, I have another theory, but I guess we get that in the end. But remind me, Crosshair theory. But anyways,
Cross Eyes theory, gotcha.
Holy fuck, that artillery bay level, whatever, where they set off the cannons was fucking cool, was it not? I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
No, it was sick.
And it's kind of like, they know that they're not supposed to kill Omega, and Omega was like, the inhibitor chip. Crosshair was like, fuck her shit up. I
feel like this episode a lot less focused on Omega than other episodes. We definitely got more of the clones themselves, specifically because of their relationship with Crosshairs, right? I love that he knows all their plays.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Because he was part of the team.
Why couldn't they figure out that Crosshair would know their plays?
I feel like they did. I feel like there was a moment where somebody either said something or maybe I just thought it, but there was a moment where it was like before he figured it out, they were like, well, maybe we should do this. And then they were like, no, he'll know we do that. And then they did something else. I apologize. I don't remember the episode. I'm not the best at that. But there was a moment where they tried to outsmart him. And he still was like, nah, y'all don't get it. There's a reason why I'm the badass that I am.
They also had Echo there, which as a reg, he was able to know what kind of drills that they would did.
Yeah.
Contrary to the Bad Batch, who did a little less, more of an unorthodox kind of training.
Yeah. Another thing about Cross Eyes is that he's, his kind of thing is he's a sniper, right? A lot of the times he was out watching the whole battlefield anyways when they were on their missions. So he can visualize the whole scenario probably almost better than any of them, because he's used to having that bird's eye view of the whole situation.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
You're on it this episode, Jaime.
Yeah, last episode I was like, I didn't know.
He came prepared, jamming his, the scanners.
So, back on the air.
No, but that's an excellent point.
Back on the artillery bay, Crosshair. This is a very specific line. where he tells the Bad Batch, you guys are scavenging like rats, which brings us to our pun of the week, which is the Rat Batch.
Rat Batch.
I don't know. I think I'm a clever girl for that.
Batch, the Rat Pack, Big Bad Batch, Rat Batch. They're scavenging around like little rats.
At least they're rats with bombs.
Yeah, exactly. The least they could do is at the very least.
It sounds like a tagline for a really bad movie.
Exactly.
We're rats, but we're rats with bombs.
Rats with bombs. I would watch that.
That'll be my next feature.
That would have been a better take on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but they're all rats. They're all Master Splinter, and they don't know karate. They're just weapon specialists. Demolitions specialists. There we go.
The Rat Batch. And they are like rats, though. They're scavenging around. They're pulling up trash to use. And
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's an interesting thing that Star Wars, I don't know what it is, man, about like the Disney acquisition. I don't know what it says about the whole thing overall, but they have really been sticking to these themes of scavenging across like all of the mediums, like everything has a scavenging theme.
Well, Disney's obviously pushing recycling.
Exactly. I was going to say that. Man, you guys are just on top of it today. You guys are like, you pulled out the big brains today.
I got more big brain moments coming. Just wait.
oh,
Yeah, we're excited, no doubt about that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, obviously we got Rey, the scavenger, who's like probably the most like in your face scavenger, right? But then you also have, now you have this scene of scavenging, you having all this like scavenging and scrapping around. And then you have obviously the Jawas, no doubt, but they were always kind of like a side thing. They really weren't like a forefront theme of the series. Because I mean, I could go into that, I guess, a little bit, but I'm not really going to touch on that because that's like a whole sequel trilogy discussion. But just, you know, the scavenging and like, you know, taking parts from something and using the best of what you got to re-envision and repackage is a thing that happened in the sequel trilogies. What Rey does throughout the series. But you also get that in Fallen Order. Fallen Order, we have Cal Kestis.
Are we bringing it back? Are we tying it in?
To what? The thing is, like, we got scavenging in Fallen Order, we got scavenging in the sequel trilogy, we got scavenging going on now in Bad Batch. Like, this whole theme of scavenging, the reason why, this is one of those things in storytelling that you can always kind of count on. Tell me what your themes are and I'll tell you where your story's going to go. You know what I mean? It's once you nail the themes of something, you can get really good at predicting what's going to happen because the story has to adhere to the theme. Otherwise, it's gonna just not be good, right? And I think that's like one of the themes that like survived across all three of the sequel trilogy movies. Rey being a scavenger, because she's called a scavenger, a rat, a lowly thing the whole way through, right? And by the end of it, what does she do? What does she do? What does she ultimately accomplish? She scavenges to survive in the first one. She scavenges the concept of being a Jedi. She's taking these broken things. Luke Skywalker is a broken thing, and she helps fix him.
I would argue it's the blue milk.
And then by the time you get to the end of it,
I don't know what color it is.
That's true. That's that green milk. Hey, I tried both of them at Galaxy's Edge. Product placement, delicious. I love both.
They're green milk?
Super weird, and I would have it no other way.
Where?
I think that's in the cantina.
Oh, well, that's some bullshit. No, we had it at the outside.
Yeah, we couldn't go. We didn't get inside the bar.
Yeah, they had it there, dude. Guaranteed. Oh, maybe they weren't serving it.
Maybe. They also didn't have the churro lightsaber that I'm trying to get.
Yeah. Well, then, you know, maybe it was like they just didn't have it in stock at the time, or they didn't have like a batch ready to go. Because when I went, they always gave me the option. I've been to Galaxy's Edge 2 times, both of them pre-pandemic. So I was pretty fortunate. And both times I had the option to get the green milk and the blue milk. I think the blue milk is better.
It was delicious.
Unless you like semi-citrusy stuff. The green milk is a little citrusy. So if you like citrus, it's really interesting. They're both good, but I like the blue milk. It's weird as hell. And that's what I envision Star Wars food to taste like. Weird as hell. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Rey scavenges the Skywalker name. It's a broken, horrible legacy. She scavenges it, repurposes it, And there you go. Even her lightsaber at the end of it is made of her scavenged staff, right? So it's all about finding the good in something and reforging it into something new, restoration, right? And that's kind of what we're seeing with the Bad Batch as well. Obviously, them as characters. We see that with Cal Kestis, this hope of restoring this fallen order of the Jedi Knights, right? Which is a theme that we also see with Luke carry on. And the theme of restoration, I would imagine, is something we might even touch on when it comes time for Book of Boba Fett and for Mandalorian. Because Mando, he's officially, rid of Grogu now, right?
Thank God.
What's his story? If not possibly restoration of Mandalore. I can see that happening.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think that could be a very large... I mean, obviously, with Bo-Katan coming in there, like, the restoration of Mandalore, I think, is imminent.
Oh, for sure, dude. Oh, yeah. They got to do it. And it's like they got rid of his anchor, right? His emotional core. They've established that. We don't have to focus on Grogu. So now Din is, like, ready to go.
I don't know. He's more like
thing,
reluctant.
right?
As well.
Yeah, of course, it's reluctant, but he's now his own thing. He's independent again, right? And he's changed now. We found him alone, and now he's alone again, but not really. He's got more friends now. He's got that Darksaber baby, you know what I'm saying? Ooh, he got that bad boy now. Oh, come on, man. I think he's gonna be, I can't wait for Mando season 3. It's so far away, but I can't wait for it. It's gonna be sick. But anyway, back to the Bad Batch, I think restoration, always keep it in the back burner now, because we're seeing a lot of this stuff happen, right? It's like the whole tired meme now of George Lucas. It's like poetry, it rhymes sort of thing. I think Star Wars definitely wants to keep those themes tightly knit. If there's one theme in Star Wars that you can always count on, it's family. It's family, redemption. Those are huge, huge things that we see in Star Wars. I think Cross Eyes is going to get his redemption. And I think Omega, being this daughter figure, is going to help play to your theme of family. Because they are a bit of a family now, right? These guys are brothers. All the clones, they see themselves as brothers. They don't refer to each other as like that clone jackass. Like, you know what I'm saying? They don't have any resentment towards each other. They don't like argue over who's the original, a la Invincible or anything like that. They see themselves as phenomenal, right?
I almost brought up a similarity to Invincible earlier in the episode. I forgot what it was. There was a moment earlier in the episode where I was like, oh, this would have been a great connection. Sorry. All right, moving on.
Yeah, no problem. Guys, watch Invincible, by the way. Super good. But you get what I'm saying? There is that familial thing. The clones are brothers. They're the same person, but they're not really the same person. It's like genetic twins, like identical twins. Yeah, they're genetically the same thing, but they're very different people. I don't know if you guys have met twins. Like, I knew twins and triplets. They're all super different. You know what I mean? They look, it's like, oh, you're seeing twice, but they're radically different people, right? It's just one of those things. So the same thing would apply with the clones. And it's what the good guys see in them, like the Jedi, and what the bad guys fail to acknowledge.
That will be their downfall.
Right? We're seeing this push towards uniformity. Exactly. It's just one of those things that you can always count on with Star Wars. So moving forward, I would keep an eye out for that idea of restoration. We're seeing them scavenge around, rummaging through scraps and whatnot. What are they going to restore? Are they going to restore their identities as individuals? Are they going to restore possibly the galaxy? I think down the road, Hunter might actually want to join the rebellion. I think he wants to join this movement down the road. I don't know how he's going to do it. I don't know how they're going to work it into a series. I'm not convinced that Bad Batch is going to be a one and done thing. I think they're lying to us for sure. Which is why, that we got to see how that plays out too. But I'm so convinced that Bad Batch is not going to be a one and done thing. My biggest prediction, I would imagine, is that probably because they're going to go down this road. That's a really good point that you brought up, Julie. Like, it's probably one thing that maybe a lot of people wouldn't focus on watching this episode. But like that tug of war as to what they're going to do moving forward, like what decisions they're going to make. It's not something that probably a lot of people would focus on because there's so much awesome action and so much other great stuff going on in this episode. But it's a central thing. I think that we're going to get more Bad Batch, but they're just lying and saying that it's yeah, this is it. It's one season of Bad Batch. Yeah, because you guys are gonna call it something else.
There was something you said just then about like what's going forward and Hunter and Omega and how their relationship would kind of forge forward. That like I had this moment of realization, and if you don't mind, I'm gonna start speculation a little bit. All right, so my new speculation
Ooh, speculation time. Let's go.
My new theory is because we have seen some storyboard artists renditions of Omega throughout the show, and she gets older. Doesn't she get like a new haircut and stuff?
Yeah.
So my new theory based on that leak and or that artwork, I just almost jumped into the very end of the episode, but she gets taken at the end of this episode,
That's fine.
and I'll let one of y'all go into that. But what if years go by between like this episode and the next episode? And it's probably a far-fetched thing, but like what if years go by and she ends up like growing older before?
The storyboard imaging he's referring to is where in the last panel, Omega is a little bit older. She's no longer blonde, like her blonde hair has grown out, so she has the brown hair of the clone troopers, but she's also wearing some of Hunter's armor, like his pauldrons and his bandana.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
So that could indicate, yeah. I mean, she's like that storyboard artist in particular. I've been following them for a while, and they've like everything that they've released so far has pretty much been dead on with what we saw in the episode.
well,
So-
okay. I take that theory back. As you were talking, you said something that kind of made me think about her growing old, and I always find it really intriguing in a story like a TV show or a movie when they do a big time jump that you're not expecting. That's one of my favorite like storytelling, because like a lot of stuff can happen that doesn't necessarily need to like push the story forward, but it's like really interesting. But
You can't really see a time jump happening like in the Bad
Yeah.
Batch now.
Yeah.
It could be a time jump towards the end of it. I
Yeah.
can see that happening for sure. I mean, storyboards are subject to
Yeah.
change, right? So we never know if that's even going to pan out. Just because he's been giving us stuff that's on point up to this point doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they're going to actually go with the season. I would think so, because I think killing off some of these members of the Bad Batch is very likely.
I would think it's more likely that at the very last episode, whatever happens, then we have the jump in time to like show her have his stuff or whatever. That's
and
probably
Omega's the
more-
main character of the next show
Right.
after
It's
the Bad
probably
Batch.
that's more likely. But if we get to the next episode and they do a time jump, I'm gonna be so happy. You have no idea. It's like my favorite thing.
I mean, I have to agree with you. That stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
We might want to put a soft potential spoiler disclaimer. We want to edit that back in there. Well, not everyone. Most people don't follow every storyboard person.
That's true. Yeah, I do have a little bit of spoilers for the episodes to come too. But before we get into that, I want to talk more about Cad Bane.
So here we'll cut that little section out and put a spoiler in there. So I'm going to record a spoiler thing right here. All right, spoiler warning. There are some stuff. Spoiler warning. We're talking about some storyboard artist stuff that's been leaked online or released online, not leaked. And then I'll use that audio clip earlier on. Then we're good. All right, that's all. Good job, future Jamie.
All right. Who would have thought that this dude that they were talking about was Cad Bane?
I wouldn't have seen that one coming, but I'm glad that the homie's
Not me.
back. That was awesome.
I don't think you even remember who Cad Bane is, Jaime.
I know who he is now, but I didn't know at the beginning of the episode. I had never seen that person before.
Cad Bane is like the original Desperado of Star Wars. I motherfucking love Cad Bane. And I think Cad Bane and Crosshair are going to have a face-off because they both like toothpicks, and they're going to get upset and fight over the last toothpick. I don't know if you guys caught that, but
They're going to cross toothpicks.
oh, yeah. I know.
It's going to be kind of erotic a little bit, you know, kind of like with Wrecker and his bombs. Kind of like a nice little, you know, just put some jazz music on, like some like real sax, like some heavy-handed sax, and that proton torpedo scene won't look the same to you. I'm just saying. And now we're gonna get some Crosshair and Cad Bane. They're gonna be like fighting, swapping toothpicks. They're gonna like spit toothpicks at each other and try to shoot each other that way because they're not gonna have guns anymore. I'm calling it now.
That,
But I mean, like that was awesome. That was awesome. I love Cad Bane coming back. It was sick.
2017, Dave Filoni mentioned that there was supposed to be a duel between Boba Fett and Cad Bane. that was supposed to happen in the unaired / unfinished season 7 of the Clone Wars. We obviously didn't end up getting those finished episodes when season 7 was released last year. So I think High Noon kind of like pistol draw against Hunter was the replacement. Like, they had most of it kind of like figured out, and they're like, let's just throw Hunter in for that. But the character models for Cad Bane, which were released online as part of the episode guides, showed that Cad Bane had a new metal plate that wasn't there in the Clone Wars, which people are speculating that suggests that he did have a standoff with Boba Fett already, and that this is just another one with Hunter. But I love Cad Bane, I love Toto, so to see them back was crazy. And people were upset because Hunter gets shot in the chest and he lives, where most clone troopers like get shot once and they crumple like a rag doll and they're dead. So I want to say that, remind everyone.
Y'all really thought, come on guys, y'all really thought that Solid Snake Hunter was gonna get down for the count with one measly little shot to the chest? Come on, man. It's like y'all never seen a main character in Star Wars.
Well, I wanted
before.
to say that they are wearing commando armor, which is much better than the regular armor that came to clone troopers. The armor the clone troopers have, I think, in my opinion, and this is how I reason why the stormtroopers die really easy, is their armor is made to like kill them in one shot because it's less expensive that way, rather than having to put them through medical.
Their armor's made out of PLA and not PETG.
I may. Well, sure, we could say that. Which brings me to my new theory. I think we're gonna see them. I don't even know at this point, because Omega's already been taken, but like after seeing Cad Bane, I was just like, well, the Book of Boba Fett's coming out, and we know we're gonna get a bunch of bounty hunters for the Book of Boba Fett. So what if we're just gonna cycle through all of the bounty hunters at this point? What if someone tries to come? What if Boba Fett comes, like as we were reasoning, and he tries to take Omega from Cad Bane? We know that they supposedly have this face-off, so wouldn't that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, there could be, like, I assume that there would be multiple bounty hunters. I mean, there are obviously multiple bounty hunters out for her.
Yeah, none like Cad Bane. Has my heart. I love Cad Bane.
This potential Boba Fett Cad Bane standoff can still happen.
It could be.
There's no reason why, because they still hinted at Boba being a thing. They still hinted at Boba in that earlier episode. You know, they kind of gave us that little thing of like, oh, we're running out of genetic material. We don't have enough Django nut. We got to make sure we get a little bit more from a closer source. Maybe we should get some boba tea. You know what I'm saying? I had to. Come on, guys. What am I paid for? Not really paid for anything, actually, now I think about it. But that's what we're here for. I got to deliver. I'm the guy who gave you Palpy claps. Now I gave you Django nut. I'm just here for the people. But that's going to be a soundbite. Django nut. Oh my god, we're gonna get kicked off the internet. We just lost all of our child fan base. Well, they're reluctantly, because they definitely probably want it real popular with the kids. It's a problem. I have to like talk about Fortnite and whatnot at all of our fan meetups that don't exist and haven't happened yet. I'm dreading that has to be a thing. But anyway, aside from that, a really cool part of this episode that I really loved, guys, when they were caught in the engine, it's like, oh man, that was sick. And we got some like roasted Crosshair face action.
Fuck Crosshair.
Come on, bro. Oh my god, he's toasty now, dude.
I know, he's got a fucked up leg too. He's on oxygen. No, maybe Crosshair is Snoke. Maybe this is what it leads to.
Crosshair is Snoke. He's a real Snoke. We didn't know this, but now you do. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is Julie's first down Hail Mary for this.
I mean, he kind of looks like him if he melted his face.
I mean, he did get his face kind of roasty-coasty.
He does look like him. I mean, look, guys, Snoke is Palpy nut. We know this for a fact. Okay? He's been out here just mixed with a little bit of Grogu blood. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much the Snoke origin right there. I don't know how Omega being Force sensitive, it's still a thing. In my mind, it's still a thing. I agree. And I think that if we do get Clone Uprising, they may lose access to sophisticated cloning technology. You get what I'm saying? And maybe that's kind of why the Empire struggles to, well, specifically Palpatine, struggles to create a clone, not just because it's a force sensitive being, a la Dark Empire, I believe, or no, Heir to the Empire. I forgot what it was. Which one was it? The book trilogy from the EU. Was it Dark Empire? No.
Listen, all I heard was that this theory of yours is a sugar and spice and everything nice for like Star Wars version, where it's like Django and Grogu and a little bit of Palpy, what mix of Chemical X, and now we got Snoke.
Yeah. Snoke is a Powerpuff Girl. I've been trying to get to the people this whole time. Snoke is a Powerpuff Girl. Professor Utonium created Snoke in a lab for Palpatine. There you go. Hey, you heard it here first, folks. Your Snoke theories, all garbage. This is the one. We did it. We did it, boys. So, I think it's time that we can speculate some more, because a lot has happened in this episode. There's a lot of action. The boys got, they play around with some bombs.
Yes, so this isn't so much of a leak as Disney put it out on the press conference. They released the names of the episodes from 10 to 14. So we don't know what's happening in episode 9, which is the next episode. We don't know that title. But you do have episode 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And then the last 2 episodes, which are according to them, the really big 2, like epilogue kind of setting. But anyways, we're going to go one by one. So it's going to be like a 2-episode wrap up of the series. But we're going to go down one by one and then we're going to speculate.
So this is spoiler warning.
Yeah.
Kind of. We don't know what we're talking about, but we have speculation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know what we're talking about. We have the titles in the episodes.
If you don't want to know the titles of the new episodes,
exactly,
this is the time to pause.
All right. Episode 10.
This is the time to put the volume very, very low and keep it playing so that you give us our stats. Buff the stats. All right? Just put us on repeat in the background.
Episode 10, Common Ground. Is it Cad Bane and Crosshair with a toothpick? Is that the common ground? Is it Hunter and Fennec Shan working together to get Omega?
Okay.
That is my theory.
That's a good... I think I was going to say, that's a solid theory. Is it Tech and...
Echo finally getting along?
Yeah, I was going to say, is it Tech and Echo, like, reaching an agreement that, like, Tech can, like, fuck with his head because he's mostly CP3O at this point?
Oh, you don't like that. Away with your theories, Jaime.
I quit.
We're gonna have Return of the King again. Rex comes back, and they're like, you know what?
We had Fellowship of the
Is it
Ring.
Rex and Cody making out?
No, we do not like clone cest here either, Jaime.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a little weird. Yes.
Clone cest is wincest.
Yeah.
Let them be free, Julie. Let them live their own lives and make their own decisions. Boom, 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 boom.
Or maybe that's the scenes from the 212 where Cody comes in and Cody's like, oh shit, well, fuck this whole inhibitor chip thing. Let's go with the Bad Batch. I don't know. But I think Common Ground is probably Fennec and Hunter.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. I think that Common Ground is hinting at possibly 2 bounty hunters, either at odds or teaming up together, or Hunter and a bounty hunter. The Bad Batch teaming up with a bounty hunter, because they don't really know Hunter can track people on planets, but I don't know how good he is at finding things off planet, right?
Or across the galaxy.
So I don't know how that's really going to play out.
What's the next episode?
Man, that title throws me off.
Episode 11.
No, that's...
Episode 9, we don't know the title of. And then episode 10 was Common Ground.
It could just literally be shooting in the dark here. So episode 9, we don't know the title. Episode 10 is Common Ground.
Episode 11 is Devil's Den.
Episode Devil's Den.
They go back to the Caminos.
Skrillex is going to be here?
Yeah. Could be
The
go back
Devil's
to
Den.
Camino, Devil's Den. I don't know. Maybe they go to Jawa's palace or something.
Okay.
I can't imagine. What else is a Devil's Den?
Would that be the first time we see Jabba and...
No.
Okay. Or he's in Clone Wars before, isn't he?
Yes.
Okay. I actually remember seeing this.
So, no idea. But episode 12 is interesting. 12 is Rescue on Ryloth.
Do you think they go to Tatooine on that episode?
No, they go to Ryloth. God damn it, Jaime. I think it's Baby Hera. Come on, guys.
Oh, so they're just going to rescue Baby Hera on
I don't know if they're going to
Ryloth?
rescue Baby Hera, but I think we're going to get to see Baby Hera, Hera Syndulla from Rebels, the Twilight pilot. So we had a baby Caleb Dune. Why couldn't we have a little baby Hera? There's also theories that we might see Numa, since we do see Numa in. So the theory is we might see Numa because we see Numa in Rebels and she's wearing armor from the 212. So maybe the scenes that we have seen that the 212 are in are actually on Ryloth, and that's how she gets the armor. But there's that. And a little Chopper. I hope we get to see Baby Hero meeting Chopper. I would like that. Episode 13, Infested.
Oh, they're gonna have
Infested.
a lot of clone troopers in that episode. So
That's what you
it's gonna
think
be
it is.
like a bunch of whole.
Zombie clone troopers.
Or like STD Sarlacc pit.
Wow.
I mean, Wrecker did get dropped inside the wet Sarlacc, so.
That's true. It's gonna come back to bite him. He doesn't
And
remember
episode
it. He's gonna pass that
14.
along.
It's called War Mantle.
War Mantle.
Yeah. Yes. So Project War Mantle in Rogue one of the projects that when Jyn Erso and Diego Luna's character Cassian Andor are going through the different, they're in the Imperial records or whatever, she says Project War Mantle is one of them. Project War Mantle is integrating the real humans rather than clone troopers.
Oh.
So
That would make sense that they would start explaining that in this, because they've already kind of started doing that.
and then that episode 14 War Mantle is right before the 2-episode epilogue.
Wasn't War Mantle also brought up by this dude,
Yeah.
Rampart?
Because he's the one that's
That was like
Yeah.
his main thing, right? Because I feel like we got a quick shot of him now in this episode. So we got to finally see him again. But yeah, he's kind of been in the back burner, and we got to keep that in mind. These guys are still in play for the rest of the season. So the Kaminoans, we got to get some delivery on that. So now moving forward for the speculations, I would also like to add in, definitely keep those pieces in mind. You can't ignore your chess pieces, right? Not everything is going to introduce and leave unaddressed.
maybe we'll see the Kaminoans turn the clone troopers on the human soldiers at that point.
I mean, they definitely have a
I'm telling
plan.
you, I'm down. Yeah, for sure, dude. They've been hinting at it this whole time. They're like, the Kaminoans are super shady. They've been like talking amongst themselves this whole time. They definitely see the writing on the wall with the Empire. They'd rather just hire a bunch of himbos across the galaxy and just have them shoot at each other.
Namaste just wants her baby Omega back.
Yeah, Namaste's like, damn, they don't want to buy our Teslas anymore. This is whack. And it's just like, all right, well, just turn them on, right? And I think they're gonna turn the clones on the Empire. I think that'd be sick. I don't know if she wants her baby back. Maybe. You think there's like a motherly sort of thing there? I mean, she kind of did
Definitely.
keep her at her side a lot.
She kept her at her side and she gave Omega the little forehead jewelry that only the Kaminoan women wear. So I think Namaste has taken a motherly load to Omega. So I think, she's the one that lets them escape, remember, in an earlier episode. Doesn't excuse all the shitty things she's done, but
Yeah, Namaste is all about Omega. She likes her Omega. That's a good point. It's a very good point. She is the reason why they escaped, why they were able to get out of there. I mean, I would love if this series gave us clone uprising against the Empire. I feel that the way that these action set pieces have been portrayed up till now, I think they're going to want to end the series in a bang. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you, Infestation, I bet that is a Camino. I bet that's the episode. And then since the War Mantle is integrating, I bet that's obviously going to be the climax if there's 2 episodes after that are kind of epilogue-ish. I would definitely say that Infested episode, we're going to see a lot of troopers killing people, killing each other maybe.
It's going to be a sad one. It's going to be sad if you like your clones. It's like that Pokemon, the first movie.
I would also say that
That's a deep cut for the 90s boomers. Pokemon the first movie. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyway, what were we saying, Julie?
is that the one where Ash turns to stone and then everybody in the movie theater started crying.
Yeah. There you go. We're boomers. That's that song that was playing when they were like, all the Pokemon were fighting each other. It's like, why are we making us fight each other? Why are you doing this? No. That's pretty much what they're going to do. They're going to hire the same guy who wrote the song for that last one. He's going to be back for this one. It's going to be the same sequence.
I was gonna mention that if you watched the episode with subtitles on, all the, I guess, natural born stormtroopers already had their designations rather than their name. One of the chicks was EK, I think it was EK or ES. I wrote it down somewhere. I just scribbled. ES04 was one of the chicks that was seen in the original squad. So more mantles happening.
Oh no, War Mantle is definitely happening, and it's an interesting parallel, right? As our squad becomes more independent, the Empire and the clones become much less so, to increasing degrees.
Do we want to wrap up? I don't got anything else.
I think so far, moving on to what could possibly happen in the next episode. I mean, those episode titles have thrown me off to a certain degree. I feel like I definitely want to revisit a lot of the Vice Admiral Rampart stuff, some of those little dialogue sequences. It's like those little throwaway dialogue moments that we don't really focus on too much because we'd rather focus on the action. I think that's definitely going to be coming back for sure before the series wraps. And now, based on, we have a bit of a timeline or an outline rather of where the series is going to go before this whole thing wraps. So yeah, I think once you get episode 9, I think we can probably piece these episode titles a little better. But right now, I feel like there's not much I can work with, right? I feel like 9 is going to be a big piece.
I don't have anything else to say.
Are you guys alive? You
Yeah.
got nothing else to say? You're drawing a blank. All right, well, that was, we can always cut the dead air. That's always the best part about it, right? If this was live, that would have sucked. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of A Talk of the Clones. Thank you so much for listening to yet another successful, one-of-a-kind, A1, top-tier, ultimate, super special, awesome episode of the greatest podcast known to man, the A Talk of the Clones. Thank you so much for your continued support of our wonderful little endeavors here. I'll let you be the judge of the quality, but definitely we got ourselves your wonderful hosts, Jamie over here, the casual king himself. You got Julie, who is not just a member of the council, but has in fact been given the rank of master, and me, who has not been given the rank of master because I don't know as much as she does, for sure, by far. In any case,
Hashtag
always remember
Django nuts.
Django nuts. All right, guys, there's one thing that you can count on. All right, down the road, the Hail Mary of all Hail Marys, keep sight, my brothers, do not lose faith. Palpy claps. He claps. He doesn't just get his DNA taken from him like Django, all right? Palpy doesn't go the Django nut route. He goes the clap route, okay? Django nuts, but Palpy claps. Never forget that. Never forget that.
Hashtag never forget.
Hashtag never forget. This is a 9/11 episode now.
No, hashtag Raylo. Get away from here.
Hashtag Ray. Oh, no. That's an abusive and toxic relationship. It's really. Is that the precedent you want to set for our children?
Fine,
Oh my
hashtag
God,
Finpo.
no. Finpo?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
I mean,
think
dude,
they have a
they
romantic
had
name.
such chemistry, bro. Man, I kind of felt like maybe JJ definitely wanted to take it that route.
They should have.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see. Anyway, guys, yet again, thank you so much. Very much appreciated. I am Angel,
I am Jamie.
Yo soy Yuli.
and this has been A Talk of the Clones. Our listeners can now write in to the A Talk of the Clones podcast. You can reach us at atalkoftheclones@gmail.com with any fan mail, hate mail, or questions you may have. We love interacting with the Star Wars community, and we would be absolutely thrilled to hear from you. Again, that is atalkoftheclones@gmail.com. You write it just like you hear it, folks.